Welcome, everyone. I'm Marla Miller from marlamiller.com, and I am here with Amanda LaPera, and we're going to be talking about the many books that she has published. But I want to give you just a little bit of history on Amanda. I asked her to join Marla Miller Talks to authors and content creators because, in my opinion, she's both. Amanda is extraordinary in her ability to not just write, but also to know what to do with it once you have published your books. She has been, and I had this on, so Amanda might be able to help me when she comes on, but she is award winning. She has won several awards, I think, from the Indie Book Publishers Association. She is published in both fiction and nonfiction. I met her at the Southern California Writers Conference years ago. And then she was on my email list. And when I offered a read and critique group, a Zoom read and critique group, she signed up. And so then I had the pleasure of getting to know her fairly well because we were together, I think, for about 9 months in that group, while there were four authors working on, I think it was all fiction back then. I've done so many groups, not so many, but I've done a lot, and so I don't remember quite. But she was working on a fictional story, and she hasn't published it yet, but she's got other novels that she has published. And I could go on. I've got a long list, but Amanda she did something really interesting, and I want people to pay attention to this because she launched her own press, and it's called Adamo Press, which is the Latin for love press. She loves books. She is everywhere. Go to her website, amandalapera.com, and you will see just she's all over the place. She goes to festivals. She has guest speaking gigs, and I'm not going to say any more. Welcome, Amanda, to Marla Miller Talks to authors and content creators, and you definitely are both.
Well, thank you, Marla. I'm glad to be here. Hi.
And so I want to talk, and I had said this to Amanda when we were doing our pre-interview. She has grabbed the publishing arm of independent publishing by the throat. And she has learned that system better than really any other author that I know of. And I follow quite a few. I'm also independently published. And I mean, Amanda is way up here and I'm way down there. And I've been doing this for a long time, not independently publishing so much, but I've been around the block. And she just is, it seems like she is an energizer buddy. Where do you get I know that you didn't start writing for publication until your kids were older, but where do you get the energy to not just write, Amanda, but to market and publicize and publish your books? Tell us about it.
That's a great question. I get that all the time. So a couple points to that. First of all, my entire life, I've been a caretaker since I was
Ah,
a teenager, taking care
okay.
of my younger brother. Then when I became an adult, my dad had severe mental illness. And when we finally found him after 10 years, I was the power of attorney. My mom had other mental health issues. I became the power of attorney with my brother there. I have worked at a level of 100 for my entire adult life.
Okay.
So when that kind of tapered off, I took that same amount of energy I'm used to, but devoted to something for me. And in addition to that, I don't watch TV
Ah,
very rarely because otherwise, how would I have time to read and write?
yep.
I have my children, like you mentioned, are all grown up. It may not look like it, here, but I fade out my screen a little bit. My son's going to be 30 this year because I was 2 when I had him. And the other component is my husband, my second
Ah,
husband, my real forever husband. So he's
mhm.
incredibly supportive and he's not a reader. Yet when we first started dating in the first month, he's a good man. Here's what he did. He read my books in the first month. I didn't make him do it, but he did it.
Ah,
And he is my alpha reader. I think he just likes the title. because I thank him in my acknowledgement section. But chapter by chapter, I send them to him and he reads every one. His feedback has gotten so good to where he says things like, this characterization's off. I like the pacing. Uh,
Really?
yes, it's
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
And when I don't write, he kind of makes jokes, I guess from Family Guy or something, and he'll go to me going, "Hey, haven't read any chapters lately. Any interesting character changes? Any new developments?" And so I wouldn't say harasses me, but in a joking way is always
Yeah.
encouraging because he knows if I'm not writing, it's not just I'm not creating, but that's a big passionate part about who I am.
Sure. Absolutely. I know that you have a bit of a marketing background, but you said in our pre-interview that you haven't really used it. Talk a little bit about that, would you?
Sure. I won't tell you what year I graduated college, but
We don't
back
want to
then,
know.
well, just to give you an idea, one of my senior projects was I did an early 50-page analysis on who was better suited going forward for success, Barnes& and Noble or Amazon, when they were just starting out as a bookseller.
Really?
And I determined Amazon. Uh, and this is before Amazon was Amazon. So we won't look into the year that was. But point being, it wasn't what internet marketing is today. That wasn't a thing at all. It was very basic. And then I actually went into finance. I worked in
Okay.
finance for several years. And then after the ethics didn't kind of mesh with mine, I
Mhm.
switched into teaching, into education, and I got hired to be a math teacher in LAUSD. And then partway through that training, I said, I don't want to teach math. I'm going to teach English. So I know that's kind of weird to have both a math and an English. So maybe that's part of my success in doing things is my
Mhm.
brain works both ways. So I now have been
Yeah.
teaching English for 23 years, creative writing for about 10 in high schools.
That is so cool. I remember you telling me that back when. Do you have I'm curious because I've done a little bit of that myself, volunteer work, and I am always surprised when I go into a high school how many kids are wanting to write novels or are writing novels. Have you had experience with kids wanting to dive in and write long form fiction?
That's interesting. Not so much where I am. And in fact, when I started the program, it was kind of commonly accepted. We didn't have a lot of writers there, was the thought.
Okay.
Because we're very much math and science, AP courses. We are one of the top academic high schools in the area, even though we're low income. So there's been that push. And then I found students who were trying to get feedback from me as writers that started at lunchtime and so forth. And what I found is a lot of them, they have ideas, but they haven't done anything with them. They don't
Yeah.
know how to approach the writing process. So I work with them on poetry, short stories. We make films. So they learn screenplay writing and storyboarding. And I tell them the reason we won awards in that is not because this is a filmmaking class, but because story comes first. And I don't allow it to go into production or filming until the ideas and the script have been approved and the dialogue and so forth. Now, as far as you mentioned writing longer pieces,
Yeah.
my students, I've had them for like year 2, year 3, and year 4. It's not until they get in about 3 or 4 when some of them are really, I encourage them to take what they've learned and work towards a longer piece. So I have students who have maybe a 30 page or 50.
Mhm.
And a lot of them, though, when they're writing short stories, say, I'd like to develop this in the future into a book. And of course, I encourage it. Most of my students are not quite there, but I will say for myself, I wrote my first middle grade fiction in middle grade. I had a book written by eighth grade. By high school, I had another book or two written. I had scripts.
Mhm.
So I've always been into doing this. So I very much try to encourage that passion in other students.
That's something that we have in common. When I was the assistant director of the Santa Barbara Writers Conference, I launched a young writers program. And because there were so many teenagers that I had interfaced with who said, I want to go. I'm working on something and I need help with it. I need direction. Anyway, we launched it as an experimental program and it went for 3 years before it was taken down because some of the adult authors that had come to the conference were writing pretty adult stuff.
Eek.
and they felt uncomfortable with kids, teenagers, because the cutoff was 15. But that's when I learned how many teenagers have ideas for novels in their head and even content. I mean, the kid that I hired as my assistant, he had already had a novel. Now,
Wow.
I don't know that he ever published it, but he had a first draft of a novel. So kids definitely, you said that you started writing when you were very young. I was published in the Chicago Sun-Times when I was 11 years old.
Wow.
And so that's what we do, right? The story's in our head. And it doesn't start coming into our head when we're adults. It's the imagination of little kids. And as I said to you before, I just got finished with a 2-week vacation with my very young grandchildren. And, I'm impressed. And I want to be able to offer opportunities for young people to write because my concern, and I know I'm going on a little bit, but my concern is that because it's so easy to publish, that young people just go to Amazon and they publish drafts and wonder why they're not selling. I have a Reddit group and it's mostly teenagers and they're like, why isn't anybody buying my stuff? Well, lots of reasons, but maybe you're not hooking them because you're not there yet. And so for you to have both the opportunity to be a role model to your students, because I know that they know that you're a published author, yes?
Hmm.
That's really cool. That's a really cool thing to not just teach them, but to offer them the opportunity to dream too, you know? Um, I want to shift a little bit because on your website, which I encourage everyone to go to, you have all of your books and you also have discount offerings. So talk to us about your Ingram Sparks connectivity because I don't know that a lot of independently published authors appreciate this.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up. I would love more people to know about this. I currently, though, it's only available to US and UK readers.
Okay.
So even though Ingram, which is a very large distributor, I know you know this, but maybe your listeners don't, and
Right.
it's one of the largest in the nation. So like you're talking the big publishing houses will go through Ingram as well for distribution.
Mhm.
So what happens is when someone purchases a book through Amazon or Barnes and Noble or wherever independent stores, they are buying it on the back end through Ingram. And publishers and authors, if they go through Ingram Spark or Ingram Lightning Source for the larger publishers, they can sidestep the retailer. So I can offer a discount to my readers. If they click on the link on my website, I give them 20% off. Now,
That's really cool.
here's the catch on this. Like,
Okay.
it's they charge, I think, $3.50 for printing, but I keep the discount so that it is still lower than the retail price on Amazon, not
Got
to
it.
mention, I won't get into politics, but the money's not going to those companies, it's going to the author. So we can offer discounts for the reader. The author keeps more of the profit. And what's great about that is Ingram handles the distribution. I don't have to touch anything. They click on the button and go straight to Ingram. They do the shipping and drop shipping, and it comes to
Wow.
them pretty much in the same packaging as if they were to order from Amazon.
So can I ask you just a technical question? Do you upload your manuscripts to Amazon and then make the connection to Ingram? You go right to Ingram.
Well, here's the thing. That's
Yeah.
with paperback and jacketed hardcover. See, Amazon doesn't do jacketed hardcovers. And just to show you, like my recent book,
Yep.
this is a hardcover. Now I do paperbacks and hardcover, but check it out. It's like
Wow.
so, and then on the back, right? So we're talking like this jacketed hardcover. It's a very nice quality.
That's a beautiful book.
Yeah, so all of my books are available in jacketed hardcovers. Amazon can't do that. And the other thing is, I could show you, I've been very disappointed with Amazon's quality of paperbacks.
Mhm.
I do use them for the students, but it's not the same book. It just is not. So for paperback and hardcover, now, by the way, nothing's perfect. You're going to have customer service issues. You'll have some damaged inventory, but they've always been really good about correcting that and shipping back out. Whereas Amazon, I ordered something for my students a month and a half ago, was supposed to come in 2 weeks, and I still don't have the entire order.
I've had that experience too. Yeah.
So I directly go through Ingram for all paperback and hardcover distribution.
Okay.
Now, what some people don't understand is on the back end, it's not profit. You have a $20 book. Those people, you're not getting a royalty on the $20 book, is there's a wholesale discount that goes to Amazon and Barnes and Noble. So I'll do like the minimum you can do is like a 40% discount. That means out of a $20 book, okay, out of a
Mhm.
$20 book, you're only getting $12, but no, you're not. $12 minus the printing costs. So then
Got
as
it.
an author going through there, you're really still only making maybe $4 a book, which
Mhm.
for 5, it's maybe beating the industry standards on the 10% royalties they get with a traditional publisher. But with 40%, you would think, oh, the independent bookstores and everyone get the traditional 40% discount. Not true. They are actually only getting about 20% discount, 20
Interesting.
instead of 40. And because like Ingram is skimming some off that as well. So
Sure.
what happens is nobody, and then there's an option to accept reviews, which I highly recommend you say no, because that's not about customer reviews. There's a whole segment we can do on the business aspect on the back end, but you open yourself to a lot of financial risk by saying yes on returns. But if you wanted your book in a physical bookstore, you're having to offer an industry standard of 55% discount and returns. And when you're doing that, what are you going to price your paperback at $30? That's
Yeah. Right.
unreasonable.
Right.
And even when you set a 55, unlike when a big five like Penguin or Random House offer the 55 discount, again, that is not what Amazon and the others are seeing. They may be seeing a 40% discount or something less than that. And if your books are not returnable, they will not be stocked in physical bookstores unless you go one-on-one, talk with the indie bookstores, support them, do a consignment, or get the discount directly to them. So that's the only way to do it. So there is a, downside, but to be honest, are most authors making their money in physical bookstores? And I would argue no anymore. Most people are purchasing online, Amazon, and we won't talk about the market share they have, but those are all, so there's a lot of business aspects to it, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes enormous sense. And it's all of what you just said is why most writers, 21st century writers, um, are clueless
It's a
because
lot.
it's a lot. And you have to have, I think that you have to know the right questions to ask. You have to know where to look. You have to know what to question. And I don't think most of us really appreciate the business end of what an independent author has to do in order to not just survive to write another book, but also hopefully to make a little bit of money, you know? It's not easy. And of course, when I got into writing, Amanda, in 1990, we all thought that we were going to be the best-selling author that would make just oodles of money. You know, it's just the fantasy of the writing life. And it's still the fantasy of the writing life, even though the writing life has changed so significantly over the last 20, 30, I would say 25 years at least. And so I'm going to suggest to you that you should offer webinars on what you've just offered me because we don't know. And it takes a long time to write a really good story, a page-turning story. And so if you're going to put all their time into writing the story, you want people to read it. And it's up to us to get it in their hands. And I know that you've been able to do that because you travel. How many writers, writing festivals have you been to? Do you have any idea? Do you keep a log? Because on your website, there is a lot that you're doing. And you also just got a recent award, didn't you?
Yeah, that one I thought was spam, which is funny because I almost deleted the email. I just, can I make one point to the new
I
authors right now? Well, a
make
couple
more
points.
than that. Yeah.
One of them is right now, there is an AI spam campaign that dozens a day of overly complimentary emails sent to hook readers into, wow, I found your writing. It's been fantastic. And either it's generic, it's the praise authors
Right.
don't hear and they want to hear and they're stoking your ego. Or when you've been writing a lot like I have and you have reviews out there, they are scooping up all your reviews and then throwing it into AI and having it regurgitate, which I don't even appreciate the snarkiness in some of these emails. I'm like, that's a bad spam email. Do you want me to teach you how to spam me a little bit better? But ignore these, delete them, don't
I
fall
do.
for it. You don't want to pay money. And you would ask me how many in the last year. Yes, I do have a spreadsheet. I'm checking it right now because it's
Okay,
open.
please do.
And I have done in the last, I'm going to say, what is this? Just since October, because I didn't start keeping track of it before then, although I could, 14 events
Yeah.
just since October. And then if I can speak, just back up just a moment, because
Yes.
another thing that I see new authors falling for, besides the spam thing, is before there was traditional and then indie. And in traditional, like, you have the small presses. If it's traditional, what that means is you are paying $0 as an author, zero. You pay nothing. They handle the cover design, the interior design, the distribution. What they won't handle if it's a small press is so much of the marketing.
Right.
That's still on the author. But for the author that it's like overwhelming, like you mentioned, we're talking a decade of experience of learning for me. And for the author that just their brain doesn't work in that numbers financial sense, which I get, I
Yeah.
totally do, that's where the small presses can come in handy. But that doesn't relieve the author of the pressure of marketing. It's
That's
still
right.
not going to sell. Like they can handle all the back end, get you a beautiful book, get it listed online, but it won't sell if the author doesn't put in the effort.
That's right.
And the other point I want to make is there's a new model out there. There used to be, which I know you know all this stuff, but there used to be the vanity presses
Hmm.
who would take anything, charge you 10 grand, whatever, and give you a book, and you would get just crappy quality. Like you mentioned, the new authors who are just uploading their books to Kindle. I warn my students, do not do this. Your book is not ready. You need to go through professional editing. You need to spend the time because this is your reputation at
That's right.
stake. It will never go away. You have poorly edited books filled with errors. Is that the reputation and the persona that you want to present to the world? And the answer is, of course, no. But
Hmm.
besides vanity presses, there are new presses that have come on the line, and those are the hybrid.
Hmm.
And so the reason the appeal for authors is once again, the ones who don't know all the business sense I'm talking about, they have not been accepted by agents, which I did have an agent in the beginning. That's another conversation. Nearly impossible to get them if we're honest, unless you're a celebrity. And
Amen.
then,
You're right.
yeah. And even the small presses, like Adamo Press, will not accept everyone. It's got to still be fantastic. So, what does that leave the authors with besides a bunch of frustration on getting their books out, right?
Hmm.
So, either they go dump it on Amazon and it's not selling, or they go to the appeal of the hybrid publishers, which they pay money and it's a package deal. So they'll do the cover, they'll do the interior. So they're really doing all the things in India's paying for anyways:
Hmm.
cover design, editing, interior design, getting just the complicated stuff like, hey, apply for copyright, get the ISBN with Bowker. There is like, get the Library of Congress, the LOC number, getting the listing inside there so it goes into the books. It can be into the libraries. There's so many different business aspects. So the appeal is, let me go to a hybrid publisher and they will take care of that. I'm in a lot of offline writers groups, and I've heard people over and over again say, oh, this is great. They're going to offer me 90% royalties, 70% royalties. And
Hmm.
what I say to you, to those, writers is, you're not understanding the finances of that. What that 70% or 90% is not what you think it is. What it is you take a $20 book, right?
Hmm.
They offer 50% discount to the wholesaler. Now you're down to 10. Then it costs $6, $7 to Print. Okay, now you're down to $3, $4 maybe if you're lucky, and you're getting 70% or whatever percent off that, or all the profits, even in some cases. You're talking $2.80, $3. Maybe you're getting a dollar more than if you had done it yourself, or you've been successfully accepted to a small press. So, one, I pointed out you don't understand what that means. If you want to compare apples to apples, ask that hybrid publisher, what percentage of royalties will I be receiving off the retail price? Not the bottom line, because that's what they're doing, is what is the retail price? Am I getting 10%, 20%?
Mhm.
It's got to be at least 10. 20 is fantastic. But that I think is a huge problem people don't understand. And even for the ones that say, well, it's still appealing because they handle everything rather than me learning all these aspects. Here's the other downside I'm hearing. You can't participate in sales. You don't control the pricing. You don't
That's
control
right.
the listing. And so you're losing all that control to take advantage of some of the marketing that you're going to have to
That's
do
right.
as an indie author.
Yeah.
So hopefully that explains a little of that.
Well, let me add to that, Amanda, because I've been published in traditional Simon and Schuster, hybrid, and indie. And so people need to know that hybrid presses will act as Amazon. I mean, they will, put the not as Amazon. They will do all of the stuff that you just said. They'll make the book look decent. The editing is very spotty, if any, and it's only line editing. Um, and you have to be really careful with these hybrid presses. Do you know that some of them are $15,000 you're asking people to pay? I mean, $15,000?
I'm in the wrong business, Marla. I need to
Seriously,
be opening. You know what? Adamo Press traditional. I think I need to open a hybrid publisher
I,
because I can
s-
do better.
you
Like
could.
do better.
You could. I'm not kidding you. You really should think about this because, I mean, not that. You're just so adept at this because you have the experience. And I would love to see this interview get some attention because independent authors really need to hear what you have to say, and I'd love to have you come back. I mean, I could sit and talk with you for a lot longer, but I want you to hold up. I want you to show off a little bit because you're published in both fiction and nonfiction. You're nonfiction. Do you have your dad's book
Hmm.
behind you? Let me see it. Hold that up
Okay.
for us because this is the one that you've won awards with this.
Hmm.
And
And there's more on here than are listed here. It got the Silver Award, Benjamin Franklin IBPA Award in Psychology. It was a Reader's Favorite finalist.
yeah,
It was Publishers Weekly BookLife, which is very competitive. It got an editor's pick. 10.0 out of 10.0 was a quarter finalist in that category. The sequel I wrote is got the, what is it, the IBPA, oh no, I'm sorry, the Independent Author Network, the EN Book of the Year Awards finalist. So and what I think authors don't understand is those contests cost money too. They're not free.
that's right.
And does it make a huge difference in your sales numbers? I'm going to say, I know I've heard it before, but I believe it now. No. It adds to your credibility,
Yes, it
sure,
does.
but it's so competitive right now. With my fiction series, I'm not even going that route. I don't care. I just need, reviews, a couple from some of the professional review companies,
Hmm.
but I don't believe in paying $300-400 anymore. I've done that. I've learned from that.
Yeah.
That's really not much of a payoff. It's just expense.
Yeah, and I'm fairly I don't want to use the word cynical, but I kind of am, because the industry that has grown up, the allied industry that has grown up around uh, uh, storytelling is suspect. We have to be really, really careful who we're giving our money to. And they all have their hand out. And so I'm gonna wind this down because we've talked a good deal, but I want you to hold up. Didn't you just get a cover on a magazine in Orange County? Hold
Mhm.
that up, Amanda. Now, how did you do that?
So it's not just
Hold it up a little bit more. I want people to, so Laguna Hills Living,
Whoops, sorry on
that's
there. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. All right. So, and you're holding your book. So cool. So how did you get that? Did you approach them? Did they approach you?
So I am friends with a lot of people who who knows somebody, and they had told one of the organizers of this, going, Amanda is someone who's super interesting, and I think you really need to talk to her.
Hmm.
And so then I started getting messages and reaching out to interview that, and like beyond your podcast here, when I was at the LA Times Festival of Books, somebody came up to me who is a big podcaster, bought, my Losing Dad, Finding Dad, and he does a whole social sciences kind of
Yeah.
podcast. And so he invited me there. Right now, those books are currently being evaluated by an organization that recommends books for all the medical schools in the country.
Really
So
cool.
keep your fingers
Oh,
crossed on that one.
absolutely.
That would be a change. I actually found out during COVID that there was a college in Canada that the upper division psychopathology class, the teacher had my book, Losing Dad, on the reading list. And
Aw,
so students had read it and were doing an interview with me online. So I, like you said, am everywhere. I'm always trying a million different angles, anything to get the book out there, because especially with the nonfiction, I think it's very beneficial and it helps people. And I would say about all my books, the Desert of Dreams series and the Losing Dad, Finding Dad, Desert of Dreams, the tagline is trauma, resilience, hope. Because no matter what I write, it's kind of about overcoming trauma. And I say, if you're
got
looking
it.
for a beach read, keep going, but I'm your trauma girl. Okay. So
That's
that's my
great.
brand.
No,
But
yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, nothing wrong with having a brand that will then get the attention of people in the social sciences who go, wait a minute, I want to know more about this book. You know that my background is in mental health, and when I was a 20-year-old, my first job was on a locked unit, and it was all paranoid schizophrenia, first breaks. And so when you told me about your experience, I mean, I appreciate how difficult those years were for your family. The fact that you have been able to make lemonade out of, some sour lemons. I know your dad would be thrilled, and I'm sure your family's really proud. I'm going to end this now because I don't want it to go too long. But Amanda, would you come back and we'll talk specifically about what you know much more about than I do, which is publishing out here in the real
absolutely.
world.
I'd be
Good,
happy to.
cool. So for my listeners, go to amandalapera.com. Well, I'll have it on YouTube. Spell your last name,
Sure.
LAPERA.
Yeah, LAP like Peter, ERA,
And
lapera.com. And in fact, I also own the URL Losing Dad, which some people spell with two O's, which is losing. But no, if they
okay,
type losingdad.com, that's easier to remember, then it reroutes to my main website.
wonderful. Amanda, it has been my pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to our next conversation. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you
This
for having me.
this was really cool. Now I'm going to end this, and let's see if I can't, sometimes I just take longer than other times. Thank
That's
you,
okay.
Amanda. Thank you, Amanda, very much.